Hi, and welcome back to part two of my October 2025 monthly energy forecast. I don't think I've ever done a part two ever in the history of doing the forecasts. If you're just following me, hi, my name is Marisa Liza Pell. I'm a master intuitive and transformational somatic mentor, and I do these energy forecasts once a month, usually on the first of the month. Been doing them for many, many years about the channeled energies coming up for each month, the themes of each month, and how they can benefit your decision making as you move along in alignment to your highest path in the universe. And October 2025 tended to be a little tricky because of the information that was downloaded about the huge energy shift, not only with the Earth, but taking your quantum leap in October 2025, because the energies are very intense and the timelines are looping. Okay. So I talk about in the last energy forecast, well, not the last one, part one of this one. So if you have not seen part one of the monthly energy forecast, this video probably won't make that much sense. So I urge you to go into the description of this video. First, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Then you'll get these as they come out and you won't be missing them. And then you won't be being like, where is the update to this forecast? Make sure you subscribe below. And also, the description below will have part one of this video. Once you watch part one, you're most likely going to have some questions, particularly, Marisa, what do you mean by closing the timeline loops? So, after part one, I received a number of questions on this topic. And in between that, for the first energy forecast and a week later, there were other downloads that were coming. So, I had decided that I was going to make a second video. So, like I said, before you listen to this video, make sure you go and watch the first video. Very, very important. And then you'll be up to speed. And then you'll be like, I have questions. And I'll say, come back to this video. And then I will answer probably your questions. So let's talk about the timeline of the last 11 to 13 years. So I'm just going to use my handy dandy whiteboard here until I figure out how to broadcast differently with another whiteboard or whatever on the screen. I'm just going to use this. I'll try to move the microphone as I go into this, but I'll try. So we'll just say the last 11 years I called the elevation period. Okay, 11 to 13 years. If you are highly sensitive, if you were brought into this world during this period of time, there's a good chance that you've come here and you're listening to this video. There's a good chance that you have a very strong mission and purpose here on this planet to elevate the consciousness of this planet. And in the last 11 to 13 years, I'll refer to that as the elevation period. And what do I mean by the elevation period? It means that if you were brought in as a highly sensitive individual, you most likely had energetic breaches or breaks early on in your life from 0 to 6, 0 to 10, which caused what I call, and I use the word trauma, but you could use energetic breaks or things in your life that cause you stress, especially as a highly sensitive, intuitive person or somebody that, just feels energy at a great degree or feels everybody else's energy around them. Plus, if you're a high achiever and you're into personal development, always spiritually seeking and looking to raise your vibration at a higher level, then most likely you will resonate with what I'm talking about. So you came into the earth, right? You decided when you were on the other side that you wanted to come during this period of time. No doubt you're probably here before, but you probably decided to come during a time when the world was going through a major transition because there was a reason for you to be here due to your soul contract and the ability that you have as a leader. And you might not identify as a leader, but if you're here and you're interested in helping other people and helping to impact the world, then there is part of you that connects to some sort of leadership potential in terms of your creativity. Maybe you're an artist, maybe you're somebody who's running a business, maybe you're somebody in the holistic field or the intuitive field, or you might be in a 9 to 5 job that you really don't like. And you're like, I really want to make an impact. And I know that my soul's meant for more, because your soul signature always knows and it always has the desire of where it's supposed to be. It's just that we were born into this world with certain dynamics. We were born with certain patterns, with certain cycles, with certain ancestral and generational patterns that move through family lines and that are part of your soul contract and soul group to move through, learn your lessons, break those cycles, and elevate your life. So, in the last 13 years, most of the souls that are being set up to step into their highest level of impact and purpose when the world is really in a state of a lot of disconnection right now. Actually, it's dropping. If you are in my membership, Mastering Momentum with Marisa, I also gave all the members a guide that was an in depth look at why this is happening. And if you're in the membership, you will see that in your portal. If you're not and you'd like to be a part of that, you could go to the description in this video. You will see a enhanced companion guide that goes through all of this in the portal in Mastering Momentum. If you can resonate with thinking about the past 11 or 13 years, you will notice that there's probably a couple different stepping stones, right? A couple different stepping stones or a couple different life areas where you would have seen a bit of a cycle, whether that's your work, your family, or your relationship dynamics. It's usually relational, and it's usually that you may have seen life blipping a little bit, okay, over the years. And what do I mean by blipping? It means that perhaps you've tried to like elevate your life, right? In certain aspects. And you would make progress only followed by a drop. Progress followed by a drop. Progress followed by a drop, right? Okay. That means that you were still following cycles and patterns, which were a lot of, I'm going to go off on this tangent now. Okay. A lot of people talk about self sabotage. I don't believe in self sabotage. I don't like the word. The reason is because if you understand somatics and somatic expansion, which I talk about, and intuition, it just means that we can't hold the next level yet. We cannot hold that next vibration. We cannot step into that next frequency. We might be able to force ourselves out of that into that frequency, but we will not be able to hold it if we're not at that level of frequency. So what does that mean? It means that we have little capacity, right? Self sabotage is basically blaming yourself for what your subconscious is doing or what energies are trying to move into your life and they can't be held because you're not yet at that frequency and you're not maintaining yourself at that frequency, right? You might be trying to say, yes, I'm at this level of capacity. You're at a small level of capacity, and some big energies are trying to enter your life, some big energies, you can't hold that. Those energies are going to be stronger than you. You can't hold up to the amount of things that you have to maintain in your energy to step into that level, hold that level, and maintain that level, right? So we have to expand our capacity for that. So if things are blipping like they are here over the last 11 to 13 years, it just means that your capacity wasn't where it needed to be to hold your highest level, to hold that mission, to hold that purpose. What was the purpose of the last 11 years? It was for the souls who were meant to come here to make an impact and a purpose on the planet and to help elevate consciousness. It was meant for those souls to keep reaching because as they moved forward and they blipped and then they fell down, they started to seek a little bit of why is this pattern happening? What's going on? And many souls in this elevation period have done many different modalities. So whether that may have been therapy, personal development work, going to Reiki, going to shamans, whatever it was, most of the souls that are now in this period of what I'm talking about with the timelines and closing loops, most of those souls have been through a number of different modalities trying to up level, but having trouble with the capacity management and the intuitive management. But it was definitely necessary because that was the period of time in the mission where the elevation period allowed for a lot of that experimentation. But in the same sense, most of those patterns did keep cycling, even though a lot of groundwork has been laid. Okay. So, where we're coming out of right now is that 11-year period. And we're also at a period of time where the earth is at its lowest level of disconnection, meaning that you'll be visiting places from your past. I talk about this in October 2025 forecast, is that a lot of people, places, and things are going to be resurfacing in your life right now from even the beginning even the beginning and throughout this 11 to 13 year cycle. You might be having memories, you might be having nostalgia, you might be having things that you would like to revisit, right? And in this 11-year to 13-year period, those people, places, and things usually remain the same. So you can revisit the past to actually feel connection. A lot of people like to revisit the past because they feel so disconnected in the present and actually not connected to the present at all, that they feel like the past holds that connection. So they'll go back to restaurants, to places they live, to people they used to know, just so they have a sense of grounding and connection. And of course, it is fun to revisit some of those things and to have those feelings come back again. And especially when you were a kid, to do those things. But if you think about it, right now in the world, the disconnection level is so low that you wonder, like, when I was a kid, I used to have this excitement about events in my life or going to certain places and doing certain things, and you go to these things and it just doesn't hold the same weight. So, what ended up happening at the end of this 11-year cycle, which we're at right now, and we're moving into the era of disconnection and actually lowering of the connection on the planet. And that is due to not any real divisions on the earth plane, but divisions in frequency from low to high. So back to the 11 to 13-year cycle. So we are coming out of that right now, and we're coming into a space where the earth, the connection resonance, maybe 11 years ago, was maybe here, right? Now we're here and we're dropping down, right? We're dropping. I don't think you can see this, but we're dropping down in frequency. Okay. So as we're moving out, especially in September with the two eclipses, you might have had a moment of clarity, letting you know that you are completely done with the cycle and you're kind of moving out of that cycle, right? You've made some decisions. These decisions aren't really external, they're more internal. And you're starting to break some of those chains finally, right? But there's some like residue from the past 11 to 13 years. And as we move into breaking the cycle and actually integrating our mind, body, spirit, and all of our energies and getting ready to up level, step into impact and purpose and move along that pathway, what ends up happening is that some of that resonance and residue, it's almost like the visuals just start coming, the energies start coming. So a lot of people are saying, what do I have to do? The main thing you have to do right now is start to close the loops on the old timeline, right? So this elevation period was meant for you to start to build and start to work on your pattern, start to work on yourself and get ready with that blipping. And now you're coming out of it. Okay. And this is a little bit deeper than I usually go. So if you're not following me, feel free to ask a question in the comments below or in our community over at Mastering Momentum. And you can find out more about that in the description below. Since you're coming out of that, and right now, I talked about this in my mentorship program last night. We talked about how there comes a time where the patterning does have to stop, right? And the reason it's stopping is because the earth frequency has made a decision, right? The decision has been made in the earth plane in a direction that we're going. Before it was a little bit, well, where are we going? There's always a battle between the light and the dark, right? And so it is what it is, but our resonance and the frequency is dropping and we're feeling that disconnection. And so the universe is now going to be bringing you opportunities to revisit parts of this old timeline here that are required to close the loops. So that just means that in your energy field, there's certain things that you started 11, 13 years ago, or that you've moved from, or that you did a lot, that as you're starting to close the frequencies and making the decision, those energies are still kind of floating around, right? And they just need to be closed up so that you can move forward completely into a new experience. So people are saying, well, Marisa, how do I close these loops? How do I close the timelines? And people are asking me in a sense of like, what do I have to go forth and do to make this occur, to make this happen? If you're not in a period of your life where you've done work for 11 to 13 years, most likely you're not going to have to do much. But if you're on a path of seeking, spiritual searching, personal development, and you have done a lot of self work or self seeking in those past 13 years and you've seen a lot of patterning, then most likely in September during the eclipse season, there were a lot of internal decisions of things that you were in limbo about that may have started to be made clear to you. And that you're like, well, I have to, if I'm going to move forward, I've had enough of this. I have to stop. This period is calling for even the people that do work in this field, in the spiritual realms. It's asking those people to come back into the body, to root back to the earth, and to activate their spiritual mission in their body, because that's where it resides, and to activate the core center so that light workers aren't really floating around up in the skies because they're not going to be able to help the earth to heighten that way. We can't all be disconnected. It's easy for people that have had energetic breaks in their childhood to be disconnected because it's the most comfortable thing to be. So, anyway, people are asking, like, what do I have to do? And here's the thing, if you're moving along your pathway, you've been through the pathway here of elevation. You're done your blipping. Usually, if you're going to actually be stepping out of a pattern now, the blipping will most likely continue just a little bit. But if you are in alignment and if you're already leading on the earth plane, you most likely have started to fully break the patterns and you're moving out of that now. And so there's just energy that's floating around people, places, and things that you just have to revisit because your body is actually calling you there, your spirit, to actually close a certain timeline that's still in your energy field. So what do? The universe is going to place those things in your path, right? It's going to place maybe, and this doesn't have to be big things. You know, it could mean, hey, I used to go to like a farmer's market down the street. I'm just making this up. And you go there and it's like, it used to be a lot of community farmers and it used to be so pleasant and everyone was so happy and it used to be a great place to be. And now you get there and it's just really run down. It's not the same people running the stands. Even the stands aren't even selling um, really nice produce, and it's way overpriced, right? So it's kind of like that. It's like even if you wanted to revisit the timelines, it's not what it used to be, so you have to close it. And you're going to see that a lot of things in the world right now are being built bigger and better due to technology. And they're being built bigger and better, and you're going to see a lot of big flashy things coming up in the world, but the soul is not there. You're going to sense almost like you're in an awesome amusement park and it's just abandoned in disconnection. So you have to revisit these places and things to realize that the connection is no longer there, because once the upgrade occurred, and once we came out of this cycle, a lot of these things are being renovated. A lot of people are leaving places they've been for 20, 30 years. A lot of people are changing, especially in business. It's a big change. Your local favorite restaurant, you might go back there and it just might be gone. Okay, so we definitely have somebody in our Mastering Momentum community that actually took the forecast and ran with it and looked at all the things that were coming her way. She actually read the guide and she had mentioned what she was experiencing. So instead of me trying to explain it from a very universal mindset, I'm going to actually read her post. I'm not going to say her name, but I'm going to read her experience. So maybe you can relate to that. And maybe you could kind of see what somebody else is dealing with this and how it can really benefit you. So she says, exactly like Marisa described it, I experienced a few loopbacks from a decade ago. The old carnival visual is so good. And I actually referenced that in the guide that I put out in the membership. With people, work, places, projects, jobs, preferences, values all being brought up, engaged, reflected on, and mostly closed out with being aware of my perspective and learnings. And that's really important because it's not so much something you have to do on the outside, it's just allowing these situations to come up and being willing to go and revisit them if the opportunity arises, preferably by yourself so you don't have anyone else's energy around you, and just experiencing, taking it in, observing, seeing how you feel, and seeing if you can make an internal decision about it. And that's really how the loops are closed, is that you're not leaving it open for, you know, I kind of like this. Maybe I'll revisit it later. I kind of don't. I do. I sometimes do. It's more like having that perspective and awareness and coming to a decision about it. She says it's been fun seeing them pop up, play out, and move on. Sometimes with nostalgia and the flow of receiving, I also felt the drag of not much happening or getting done with the energy of self care. I know that's so important. I'm excited about October abundance and work supporting the next 18 months. Looking forward to relooking at the monthly notes. So, yes, so it's basically that simple. That's all you need to do to close the loops, just because we're coming out of this elevation period and the earth is kind of well, it's not kind of, but it's really moving toward an era where there's going to be less and less connection because people are really either in a trance or they're just really disconnected within themselves. So it's so important right now, more than anything, for you to make some decisions internally where you want to go from here on out. And as we break patterns and as we move ahead, we have to close the energetic loops that may be hanging around in our energy field that we might not even know that we have to close. We might not know that certain people are going to show up. I mean, have you ever had a situation where you kind of maybe had a relationship in your life and you were the one always kind of pursuing that relationship, right? You were always pursuing that situation and nothing else mattered. And it, was a thing that you couldn't ever really resolve or whatever. And you kind of kept like moving toward that. And then all of a sudden you let it go or you let a situation go, and it might take you years, it might take you months. You finally let it go, and all of a sudden it appears like at that moment that you finally let it go for you to finally resolve it within a more structured and grounded place and where you are whole and not actually chasing a situation based on your survival patterns, right? So, so important how the universe works. So, there are some things that the universe has to show you, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. It could be little things. It could be, it was brought up to me to go to somewhere I haven't been to in like a decade. And it's just somewhere I used to go, and I had a lot of fond memories there. And when I went there, every single place that I used to go to was shut down. And I was like, I'm looking forward to this, this, and this. And so many big monstrosities were built, and there were all these like really big upgrades to the place. And I walked around and I'm thinking, man, I used to connect with so many of these things. And while this place looks upgraded, and that's the thing about coming out of the elevation period, especially businesses and places, they're going to be like remodeled or upgraded or rebuilt, but not with connection in mind. And while everything looks flashy and big and new and modern, it felt like there was no spirit to the place, where I was like, I don't even know if I want to come back here because nothing is, well, everything kind of looks the same, but energetically there was no connection. So it's kind of like that. And this place was a big part of my life 10 years ago. Like I used to visit it all the time. So it's more of like not looking for things or what you think it might be, but allowing the universe to present situations to you. And you might be surprised by what it presents to you and how strongly you feel about the situation. Like you may not have felt so strongly about these situations in the past because of those blipping points I was talking about. You might not have felt that strongly, and you may not have even had the capacity to feel a decision about it. So, the universe is going to show you things, it's going to reveal things to you that maybe these situations have played out over the years, right? It may not be anything different, but the way you feel about it might be completely different. And that's maybe what's going to surprise you, and how strong you are in your resolve and how strong you are to like really know how you do feel about it. So, number one, if you're new and you want to take my intuition quiz to find out what your intuitive strength is right now, it does evolve over time with the somatic expansion work. But if you want to see where you're at with that, the description is below. And if you want to go and read the enhanced guide that I have for the quantum leap of October 2025, and you want to get involved in the discussion where I'm very interactive in my community, you can also visit the link below and join us over in Mastering Momentum. And until next time, I will see you soon.